For enterprises that need to manage call permission, MyPBX offers 3 options: assign permission in outbound routes, configure passwords for outbound routes, and employee P user. We will introduce how to configure general outbound routes to assign permission first. Click Outbound Route and find the default route. Click Edit. The default dial pattern is 9 dot, meaning any number that starts with 9 and has no less than 2 digits will use this route. The dot here is a wildcard character representing any combination of numbers with more than one number. The dial pattern can be formed by various wildcards. The common wildcards are X, meaning any number from 0 to 9. Z, meaning any number from 1 to 9. And M, meaning any number from 2 to 9. Square brackets with numbers enclosed matches any number in the brackets. Exclamation mark is also a wildcard, indicating that the pattern ends. If 4x is ended with an exclamation mark, it means the route can only pass 4-digit numbers. Fill in strip digit from prompt to decide how many digits will be stripped. Take the default 9 dot dial pattern as an example. When users use this outbound route, press 9 followed by the phone number. The number 9 is a prefix that needs to be stripped before MyPBX sends the actual number. So we need to strip 1 digit from prompt. Filling in 0 or leaving it blank means no digit will be stripped. Prepend these digits tells the system to add the prefix before dialing, such as prepend 17911. When dialing 95503301, MyPBX will first strip 9, then add the prefix. That is to say, the number sent out is 1791155033301. When both strip and prepend rules are configured, strip action happens before prepend. We now present how to configure outbound routes to meet specific requirements of a customer. The customer requires, firstly, extension 500 and 501 have the right to make international long-distance calls with trunk PSTN1. Secondly, extension 500 to 505 can make domestic long-distance calls with PSTN2 and PSTN3. And thirdly, extension 500 to 508 can use VoIP trunk China Mobile IMS to dial local number. Delete the default route first in case it interfered outbound routes we create later. Create an outbound route for making international long-distance calls. Click Add Outbound Route and fill in the route's name. Since international long-distance calls start with 00, we set the dial pattern as 00 dot, matching any number begins with 00. Move extension 500 and 501 from available trunks to selected. Only the selected extensions have the permission to use this outbound route. Select the trunk PSTN1. Only trunks under selected will be applied in the route. Click Save and apply changes. Use extension 500 to make an international long-distance call. The call is put through. Use extension 601, which is not granted permission, to make the same call. The call fails, so the client's first requirement is met. Now let's configure an outbound route for domestic long-distance calls. Click Add Outbound Route and fill in the route's name. Suppose the domestic long-distance calls starts with 0 and followed by a non-zero number. So set the dial pattern as 0Z dot. And move the extensions 500 to 505 to the selected. And choose trunk PSTN2 and PSTN3 in the same way. When an outbound route has multiple trunks available, we can decide whether to enable round-robin memory hunt. Choose Yes to enable it. Then the first call going through this route will use the first trunk, and the second call the second trunk. This is for the purpose of not overusing a single trunk and divide phone bill among trunks. Choose No, and then first trunk will be used every time. Only when it is busy or available will the second trunk be used, or the third, the fourth, until an available trunk is found. Click Save and apply changes. Use extension 500 to make a domestic long-distance call. The call is connected. Use extension 601, which does not have permission, to make the same call. The call fails, so the client's second requirement is met. Last, we create an outbound route to dial locally. Click Add Outbound Route and fill in the route's name. Suppose all local numbers start with non-zero numbers, so set the dial pattern as Z dot or enclose number 1 to 9 in a pair of square brackets. Choose extension 500 to 508 as selected, and select China Mobile IMS. Use extension 500 to dial locally. The call is placed. Use extension 601 to dial the same number. The call fails because 601 does not have the permission. Now let's look at the second call control method, configure passwords for outbound routes. This is for the purpose of further managing right of using certain outbound routes. Let's try configuring a password for the international dialing route we just created. Enter the edit page and type the password in the field. Click Save and apply changes. The password configured is only applicable to permitted extensions and trunks in this route. If password is needed for individual extension or trunk, set up an outbound route for this extension or trunk, and then set the password. Now run the test. Pick up extension 500 to make an international call. Press the phone number first. A prompt will ask for password.
Please enter your password followed by the pound key.
Enter the password followed by the pound key.
Thank you.
The call is placed. Pin user is also a powerful way to manage call permission of MyPBX. For extensions that are not allowed to use certain outbound routes, setting pin user will grant those extensions to write. For example, a public extension in a factory is mainly used to communicate with international extensions and is not permitted to dial external numbers. But executives in the factory may need to make such calls with this public extension. In this case, a preset pin code will help meet this demand. Open pin user settings, and we can see the default feature code is *89. Click Add Pin User and enter the name. In the pin list, fill in the pin codes, one code per line. Multiple pin codes can be listed. And then move the outbound route you want to use from available to selected. Click Save and apply changes. Extension 601 is not allowed to dial outside numbers, so we use this extension to run the test. Press *89. And after the prompt, enter the pin code 456 followed by the pound key. Upon hearing dial tone, you can make outside calls now. Busy lamp field is a feature that allows monitoring the working status of other extensions or trunks through pre-configured indicators of an IP phone. MyPBX now allows BLF to subscribe the state of PSTN and GSM trunk. A solid green BLF indicator means the extension of the trunk is free. A solid red indicator says busy. A flashing red indicator tells you the extension of the trunk is ringing. The feature needs both IP phone and MyPBX to support. As an illustration, we use IP phone of extension 500 to monitor extension 501 and trunk PSTN1. Log in the web interface of the IP phone. Extension 500 is registered on line 1 of the IP phone. Click Phone and DSS keys. Use DSS key 1 to monitor extension 501. In the pull-down list of type, choose BLF. Fill in 501 in the value field. Choose the line that extension 500 is registered for line. In the field of extension, enter the feature code of call pickup and extension number, i.e. *04501. Next, we use DSS key 2 to monitor trunk PSTN1. In type, also select BLF. The value is the name of the trunk that is to be monitored. Choose line 1 and leave the extension field blank. Save the settings. From the BLF indicators of extension 500, we can see that when extension 501 is free, the DSS key 1 indicator is green. When 501 rings, the indicator blinks red. And when 501 picks up, the indicator shows solid red. In addition, when 501 rings, we can press the DSS key 1 to pick up the call. When the call is picked up, the indicator turns green, meaning 501 is idle. Monitoring trunks is almost the same as monitoring extensions, except that there's no call pickup function, but the monitor trunk can be directly picked. If PSTN1 is free, and when we press DSS key 2, we will have dial tone. In this case, extension 500 can directly call through this trunk without matching any outbound routes. Note that this method only works for PSTN trunk but not GSM trunk. Distinctive ringtone distinguishes calls from different inbound routes. This feature requires IP phone to support. That is, the IP phone must have the ring feature. Let's try distinguishing between incoming internal calls and external calls. Since calls from internal extensions do not pass any inbound route, we keep the default ringtone for them. Now let's configure ringtone for inbound route. Log in the web interface of extension 500. Click Phone and Ring. Name the first internal ringer text. In the internal ringer file, choose the ringtone. In this way, distinctive ringtone is enabled on IP phone. Next, log in MyPBX web GUI, enter the inbound route edit page. In the field of distinctive ringtone, fill in the name of the internal ringer text we just named. Click Save and apply changes. Now run the test. Use extension 501 to call extension 500. The default ringtone rings. Make a call to extension 500 through the configured inbound route. And we have the ringtone we chose. Sometimes we need a more obvious way to distinguish the lines passing incoming calls. For example, a company with multiple lines, and each line has its function. Some are for business, and some are for after-sales service, etc. In this case, we will need DNIS or dialed number identification service to change the display name of incoming calls. While remaining the caller ID, the display name will help the dialed party handle the call more efficiently. To configure DNIS, click DNIS settings under Internal Settings. Add DNIS. In the trunk name, choose SIP trunk China Mobile IMS as an example. DID number will be needed for SIP trunk, BRI or U1 trunk because these trunks may have multiple numbers. Next, give this DNIS a name. And enable DNIS. Click Save and apply changes. Dial extension 500 via trunk China Mobile IMS. From the screen of extension 500, we can see the display name from IMS and the caller ID. The SMS feature of MyPBX comprises email to SMS and SMS to email. You need to install GSM or UMTS module to use the SMS feature of MyPBX. Make sure the module has an inserted SIM card with enough balance to send and receive messages. Now let's detail SM settings of MyPBX. Open the SM settings page under Internal Settings of MyPBX. Let's see Email to SMS first. These will allow users to send an email with the special subject to a pre-configured email address. And upon receiving the email, MyPBX will convert content to a text message and send it to the mobile phone designated in the email subject. Before anything else, an email address that can receive mails should be configured here. Under Email Settings, fill in the email address and password. POP3 need to be set for Email to SMS feature. Log in the mailbox to find the information. I'll refer to our example. The POP3 of 126 mail is pop3.126.com. And the receive server port is 110. Click Test POP3 Settings. The prompt will pop up if the configuration is correct. Now we enable Email to SMS. Country code is optional. If enabled, there is no need to specify country code in the subject when sending email to SMS of that specific country. If mobile phones of more than one country are the destinations, then do not enable country code. Receive emails interval sets the polling interval of the email configured previously. Generally, the default 60 seconds is enough. Remember not to set the interval too short if you need to change the value, or else it might be pulled to the blacklist by some mail servers. Access code is for MyPBX to verify the subject of the email received. Only the verified email will be converted to text message and sent to mobile phone. If verification fails, the mail will be deleted directly. If no verification is required, leave the field blank. Save the configuration. In the To field, fill in the configured email address. As for how to send email to SMS, there are 4 ways. The first is to use the default GSM port without access code. The default GSM port is the first available GSM port in MyPBX. If country code is not enabled previously, it should be prefixed to the mobile phone number when entering subject. If enabled, only the mobile phone number is required. The second is to use the designated GSM port without access code. The subject in this case would be port number hyphen mobile phone number. For example, the designated GSM port is 9. As mentioned earlier, prefix the country code if it is not enabled. The third situation is to use the default GSM port with access code. The subject now follows the format of 500 access code hyphen mobile phone number. Suppose the access code is 123. The fourth way is to use the designated GSM port with access code. Suppose the port is 9 and access code is 123. The subject format should be 500 access code hyphen port number hyphen and finally mobile phone number. The email is sent and the mobile phone receives the short message. SMS to email works like this. Send a text message to the SIM card installed in MyPBX. Upon receiving the message, MyPBX will convert it to an email and send it from the configured email address to the designated mailbox. An email address that can send and receive mails needs to be configured here. In email settings, configure the SMTP settings this time. Take 126mail as an example. The SMTP server is smtp.126.com. And SMTP server port is 25. Click the Test SMTP buttons and fill in an email address for receiving the testing email. The prompt shows and the mailbox receives the testing email. Now we enable SMS to email and save the configuration. Click Edit. Enter the email address to receive short messages. Click Add Email, and the address appears in the email list. You can click the cross to delete it. Multiple emails can be listed. If multiple GSM or UMTS trunks exist, separate email addresses can be configured. In this way, when a short message is sent to MyPBX, the message will be forwarded to the designated email address in the form of email. Some prompts of MyPBX can be modified by users, like prompts for IVR, queues, PIN users, and a prompt that asks for password. Under Inbound Call Control, click Custom Prompt to record or upload your prompts. And Music on Hold is uploaded in the Music on Hold prompt page under Internal Settings. In Options page under Internal Settings, you can select the on-hold music. Let's see the settings in the Custom Prompt page. All versions of MyPBX support GSM 6.10 wave, 8 kHz, mono, 1 kilobit per second, and GSM audio file. MyPBX that has a minor version number and the following higher than 17.0.23 supports ALO ULO wave file in the following format and PCM wave file in this format. Click Record again to erase the original prompt and have a new one. We click Record New Prompt instead. Name the prompt. Dial a specific extension to record a new voice prompt, for example, extension 500. Click Record, and the system will dial extension 500. Pick up and follow the prompt to record.
Please leave your message after the tone. When done, hang up or press the pound key.
Next, we will see how to use certain software to make a prompt and then how to upload it. The first one is the Windows Sound Recorder. Click Start, point to All Programs, point to Accessories, point to Entertainment, and then click Sound Recorder. Open an audit file or record a new one. After recording completes, click Save As under File. Enter the file name first, then click Change. In the drop-down list of format, choose the one that is supported by MyPBX, like PCM. Click the list of property and choose 8 kHz, 16 bits, mono, 15 kilobit per second. Click Confirm and Save. Keep the other format of prompt in the same way. Some audio file cannot be opened directly by sound recorder, like an MP3 audio file. In this case, use WavePad to convert it to a GSM file. Open WavePad and click Open File. Choose the file you want to convert and click Open. Click Save File As under File. And in Format, choose GSM. Click Save. The audio file is ready. Upload it in the custom prompt page.